Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Appeals Committee to order at 6 p.m. We have Rob Gibbs, Linda Bradley, myself, Ellen Albagian, and we do have our GM Michael here, and of course we have Spencer helping us with the sound. And we do have the land acknowledgement and anti-racism statement on the website. So we are here to hear two appeals from Sovereign Homes. And Alan, if you would like to start us off, please.
Sure, as a recap, this involves two properties, 103 and 105 Sun Valley Drive. The violation is failure to obtain an extension of the 1-year completion date, and there are various fines associated with it. These these fines were communicated to Jay and Aaron Russell of Sovereign Homes on January 10th, and we received request for appeal on January 23rd, and we are now convening to hear the appeal.
Okay, do you
More?
have anything else you want to add to that? About the situation?
Sure, okay, let's take them one by one. For 103 Sun Valley Drive, the construction started August 14th, 2023. The extension was due August 14th, 2024. This was not received. This resulted in a fine of $1,000 plus $100 per day, 6 days a week, excluding holidays and Sundays. This is effective the revised fee schedule April 12th, 2024. This totaled $8,800 plus the $1,000 is $9,800. There was another violation listed on page 2, which was hours of operation. There was a citation for working beyond the hours, and the notice was sent. That was $250. The total is $10,050. $50 of it was waived for a fine of $10,000, thus being withheld from the completion deposit. Moving on to 105, similar situation, different dates. The start date is July 28th, 2023. The 1-year completion would have been July 28th, 2024. The fine is failure to obtain construction extension. $1,000 plus $100 a day, 6 days a week is $1,000 plus $5,500 for a fine in this section of $6,500. And then $6,000 would have been withheld from the deposit provided.
Okay. Thanks, Alan. Okay, Jay?
Yes, I wanna thank you guys for being here tonight. The focus of why I'm here tonight is to discuss the spirit in which I guess what I would call it, construction deposit is placed on projects. I know that things have changed. At the time that these deposits were paid, there were $10,000 deposits. And there are now $20,000 deposits. The understanding I have in that is that the spirit of making that change was more or less because builders weren't taking it serious. I'm assuming you guys have heard this as well. This is a discussion that I've had with Joanne. This is a discussion that has taken place in various ECC meetings that I've attended. And I want you to know I stand by that. And I think it makes sense. The spirit of why the increase in construction deposits has so dramatically gone up by 50%. It's double. And the reason why, my understanding is the spirit of that is it was being ignored in the past. Builders in Sun Valley were viewing it as simply a tax or sort of a cost of business, because there were so many citations were taking place, and you never knew as a builder how much construction deposit you were going to get back until the very end, until you asked for money. that was how things were. I'm very happy with the way things have changed. Now, even though the construction deposit is double and it is 20,000. The spirit in which we're notified ahead of time when we have a citation. We get that fine and then it's explained exactly why we're getting that fine. It makes a whole lot more sense to me than just accumulating fines in a black box and not knowing where, if you've done good or you've done bad until you get to the end of the project. I think the point I'm trying to make here tonight with D is even though this is under the old rules. And we didn't find out about the state citations until the end. I think these were model projects in terms of behavior, in terms of following the rules. And staying exactly within, what the bylaws and what the ACC regulations are. We had just one citation for an after hours boat thing. And I'm almost nearly positive it was probably during the watershed. When it was all hands on deck and it was a race to the very end to get everything closed up. Before the building season was over for foundations. That's my guess. I don't know actually. The other one had 0 citations. These were model projects. We never had one complaint, we're in good standing with the neighbors we have, both across the street and the next door. And I think this project's been fantastic. In the spirit of where you guys are at now, I just want to let you know, it's really disheartening to see that 2 projects that went as good as they possibly could still ended up resulting in the deposits getting completely eaten up by the end of the project. And I'm not disputing the fact that we missed the extension. I'm not here to dispute that to me. And if nothing changes, I will accept that. And if you guys aren't willing to bend on themselves, I will accept that, but I think it's important to let you know. In the spirit of the way things you want to change. This doesn't, it doesn't feel right. To know that even though a project went perfectly smooth. Our deposit got chewed up anyways, and we weren't notified of it at all. And I understand it's not that Sudden Valley's, I think it states very clearly in there, it's not a requirement for Sudden Valley, even if the builder is notified. The onus is still on them to get that extension, even if they don't get the reminder. We never got the reminder. Diane was always really good about sending reminders, we never got them at all. Had we gotten the reminder, I assure you, we would have gotten that extension, we would have paid whatever fees are associated with it and took care of it. We didn't get it, this totally slipped by us, mostly because these things came due right during the watershed, and we started 3 new projects at the same time. So that's what I'm here to talk about tonight. The only thing I'm asking you from you folks is if you would consider a reduction in the fines associated with the late charges that accumulated for our missing our extension. That's the only thing I'm asking tonight. And the reason why I'm here to ask you that is, in the spirit of trying to get builders to do the right thing, and try to improve behavior. I think it makes sense. It makes sense when you have 2 model projects.
Thank you, Robert, Linda, do you have any questions for Jim?
Well, hi Jake,
Hey.
good to see you.
Good to see you.
I have a question, so, I'm just trying to track with you, you're saying that you understand why Sudden Valley made the changes in the bond or the funds,
Yes.
why the, fines would change, you're tracking, I think, I heard you say you understand that.
Yes.
When you say this, talk to me more about the spirit, what do you mean by the spirit of it? Are you saying that you feel that the fine is issued and all of a sudden you're caught by surprise, or are you saying, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying, because so I come from a career, I'm retired, I came from a career of, there were requirements. These were the requirements,
Yeah.
and we were held to those requirements. Are you saying that Sun Valley should have, reached out to you and said, hey, oh, hey, by the way, you're 3 or a week, you're getting into fines now and it's gonna get expensive, or, I'm trying to understand what you mean by the spirit.
Yes, so just to break that down and pull that apart, wouldn't have an accumulation of $100 a day, we wouldn't even be having this discussion if I was notified. Granted, it's the builder's responsibility to keep track of that. I didn't have it on a reminder anywhere, to come up on my calendar like I should have, that's on me. But it would have been nice to be more. To be more specific to your question, when I see the spirit of it, let me give you a little, here's an anecdotal, and this is purely theoretical. Okay, this is not like. If you'll humor me on this, as I mentioned in the past, there's a number of builders in Sudden Valley who feel, and this is not me, this is discussions that I've had with various builders, I'm not gonna name names.
No,
But there was kind of an inside joke that would get passed around between builders that 10K construction deposit is just the tax that it takes to build in Sudden Valley, because there's no chance you're getting it back anyways. That's just so you guys know, I've always assumed you had an idea that there was those sort of water cooler dispatch contractors, and I've always assumed the cost of it went up so dramatically from 10K to 20K. Because I think. It made sense, like, if it's 10K and you're not gonna get it back anyways, and you never know what you're getting dinged for along the way. Assume it's a sunk cost, build, and if you get anything back, it's a bonus, and it's a nice surprise. That's the way it used to be, so in the spirit of that. What I'm saying is I fully support that, like, the game has changed now, now we know, we've got a compliance, officer who lets us know when there's complaints. He lets us know, why we have this violation, and it's great, there's, like, I get to let the guys know, hey, this is serious, this hurts, this real money that it's costing me. For, either your lack of discipline or your antics on site that are leading to these violations. So it's working, is what I wanna let you know. But what's happening is anecdotally, part 2 of that water cooler discussion that's happening around Sudden Valley, and this is not my personal view on the matter, is that whether it's 10K or 20K, good luck trying to get any of it back. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean by the spirit. I really believe that, like, what you guys have done, it's, let me just say it's for me and my team, but I think for a lot of other builders, it's not, and I guess for me, I have felt like I believe it, like, I really think this is working. But I would be remiss if I didn't come here tonight to tell you that, like, getting through the build of 103 Sudden Valley Drive and 105 Sudden Valley Drive and getting to the end of it, knowing that they were perfectly model builds. And then at least having that feeling, and then seeing the end result that, like, it's one actual citation on one of the projects. And our construction deposit has disappeared regardless. I'm not saying it's like killed my faith in the system. It really hurts, and that's when I talk about the spirit of kind of what you guys try and do, that's kind of what I mean, if that makes sense. I know it's a little
No,
esoteric.
no, I appreciate it, I was just kind of thinking about that. I guess from my point, it's been a while since I've been on ACC, but there's just times where we were caught by surprise, we'd show up to, and all of a sudden, here's a deck that wasn't even on the plans. And so that has nothing to do with your situation.
Right.
No, I was just trying to understand, and I guess to me. I mean, if I get a speeding ticket, and I'm doing 40 and a 25, requirement is 25, and I got, yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, a part of it's just accountability.
Yeah.
And my advice is, I put some countermeasures in your project plan that says, there are certain requirements I gotta hit, because I want all that 20 grand back, frankly. It's money out of your pocket, man, I'm just being,
I totally agree.
totally being straight up with you too.
I think you're absolutely correct. I think accountability is really at the core of the discussion tonight. But in that regard, I sat through multiple ACC meetings on 103 and 105 leading up to our final. When and I have to assume those ACC members knew that I was getting dinged $100 a day. And I sat through those meetings and no one said anything. We talked about lights. We talked about, you need to improve the ditch. And here's here's what you need to do to pass final for the ditch. We talked about those things. And I was feeling great, wow, awesome. No one told me I had a burn rate of $100 a day that was destroying a $10,000 deposit. I could have been informed.
Well, generally, I can tell you is, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a long while since I've been on ACC.
Sure.
But at no time did I or any of the members that I knew of, did we have a Rolodex or something on our phone going, oh man, these guys are, we just didn't know.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
maybe there's a way, I also had a career on process improvement. Maybe there's a way to, I don't know, but I don't know, it's there are requirements and, it's to, people don't always want to see a house built for 5 years that doesn't, I don't want to take much of the time,
No, I do, I really do, yeah. I totally, I'm constantly putting myself in the shoes of the neighbors and the other members of the community.
And I'll bet you build a great house, and I believe you that the neighbors are happy and everything like that. Yeah, but thanks for being straight up with me about what you meant by, I know it's interesting, the spirit, because relationships are important.
Yes, 100%, and in me as well. I mean, I work extra hard to maintain all the relationships along the way, whether it's neighbors, ACC, or SPCA.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, you got it.
That's all.
Thanks, Linda, did you have a question?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
So what's the county time limit to build a home?
Currently? Yeah, I think it's 1 year, 12 months.
Thank you. So every time that you come and you go to build a home, you have to get a permit from the county.
Yes.
Now, if you extend over that year limit, what's the process?
Well, I believe every time you get an inspection, your permit extends. That's how I think it works.
But, so when you go beyond a year,
Yeah.
if you get an inspection after that.
Yeah.
And let's say it's 14 months,
Right.
then they tell you need to renew your permit, you don't just go in, and I believe they still cost just $100 unless they've really gone up.
I think you're right. I haven't taken care of that portion of it. The front end of projects, there's a lot of inspections, there's your excavation, foundation.
The whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
When eventually on both of these properties, you had to have gotten an extension from the county. Because both of them run clearly,
yes,
over 8 years.
yes,
So you had to get extensions from them. That should have been something to tell you, ding ding, I need to go see Southern Valley.
yeah, actually, it wasn't in this case, and I can explain why. Our last, between county final inspection, the, prior to that. We had a framing inspection. To get final on framing that occurred sometime around late spring. So between late spring and final, which was fall, was a very short time. So, and I think, and I understand your point, like, if this went longer than a year, ordinarily. And I understand what you're driving at.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
for us.
Yep.
As an association,
Yeah,
to me, it's a slap in the face, I'll be very honest.
okay, this is
Very
surprising, okay,
You have to go to the county, you have to have permits to continue work for them.
yes.
To me, I would like to say, I'll have to go look at the ACC rules. If you would go over your year.
Yeah.
And I was on ACC, I would ask for a rule where I could basically stop construction, have you stop until you come to us and apply. I can't imagine why you let it go.
Yeah,
As a point of information for you, you have one project, 21 Lost Fork Lane. It has the first year construction plus 2 more extensions, which you did apply for. That expire on March 7th. So you may wanna write that date down in your calendar.
yes,
Because if you don't apply, it's not gonna be well.
yes,
I just, the one home, if you'd have finished it in a year, you wouldn't have received any of them,
you're absolutely correct.
either of them really. It's just. I just don't know why we should forfeit any of this.
Yeah, well, I understand.
For the reason, I get where you're coming from, there have been some modifications that if you apply. And let's say you need maybe just 3 months of an extension or whatever. Then fine, we'll give it back. And also I sign checks, I know that some builders get their $10,000 back, I sign the check.
That's awesome.
But and for your one home, we didn't take the whole 10,000, we
Correct.
took 6,500 and you got the rest back.
That's correct. You're absolutely correct.
So I'm saying, I think you've been treated very fairly.
Okay, well, just to unwind that, I do understand what you're saying with the, we have to apply for extensions with the county and agreement. It's partially correct, just to clarify, is that every time we get an inspection, the clock automatically resets. So what I'm saying is our last inspection, framing inspection was in spring, it automatically reset with the county, but it didn't set with Southern Valley. It didn't reset with Southern Valley, it was still at that date of, for the last extension that we filed for. And to your point, it would have been awesome if ACC would have gave us a stop construction notification. Cause it would have saved me $100 a day, and you better believe I would have been in there the next day with a check. Immediately.
And maybe that's something to discuss, it's something that I thought about during all of this. And now that you say this,
Yeah.
it's a thought for me, if maybe we need to add one more thing. Is it a bit slap on the wrist? But the slap on the wrist saved you from, let's see, how much?
Absolutely.
5,500 in one case and 8,800 in another.
Absolutely, it would have been completely worth it, I would have brought that check in with bells on.
And it's maybe something to discuss with Alan and also with Mr. Rodriguez, Director Rodriguez, who's the head of ACT.
Yeah.
They recently did some changes, and I know that there are times we do issue stop construction orders. But I think it's just the way it is, knowing that you had to go to the county to get permits, and like they only cost $100, but but they have that extension, I think it's a year, you get another year. If I'm not mistaken.
Right, yeah, if you don't have an inspection that resets it, if you're just paused, you gotta pay. But if you do have an inspection, it doesn't matter. And thank you, by the way, for reminding me, I do have great news regarding 21 Lost Dork. I actually requested SVCA final this afternoon. And we have a buyer, sale pending, which closes on March 3rd. I am acutely aware that March 7th is our.
Okay, I just, as long as we were all sitting here and being upfront, I asked for a lot of information, got that, and I'm reading from all of it.
You
And
got
I
it.
thought that I need to say something in here.
No, that's great.
I think the thing that is other concerning to me,
Yeah.
and that I think you're gonna have to be well aware of on your own,
Mhm.
is currently you have 3 active projects besides the Lost Port.
Yes, that's correct.
You have one that actually you have an extension was within the 1-year window, there's one in July, but I don't know when.
Yeah.
And there are 2 in August.
Yes.
When you commit to building so many homes at one time, and I understand if you have a company why you do it. If you can't finish within the year,
Yeah,
why do you do it?
right, absolutely, you're absolutely right.
That's, you know.
Yep.
It's a bite.
Yep.
You know, I used to work for Z Construction,
Mhm.
we used to build. And we have built many homes out here, and
Yeah, I wish I had the luxury of building one at a time.
okay, but anyway, that's all I have.
Yeah, well, I thank you for that, and I do hope I clarified that this was not intended. Or anything I said tonight to be a slap in the face, I hope I recovered some of that, because that was certainly not my intent. So you have my apology.
Yeah, Dave,
You're
I covered
the last one.
Well, that's the good thing is because you guys cover most of it, but I guess the only question I would ask. How many homes have you built to date in Sutton Valley approximately?
That would be 16 Canyon Court, 103, 107 Valley Drive, and 105 Sutton Valley Drive. Lost Fork would be the 4th one, which closes, as I mentioned, in the next 2 weeks, we're closing. And then we also have 4 Deer Run, which is our July expiration, and then we have 8 and 10 Valley View, which is our, I believe it's August.
Okay, so some of these are fairly new, like, when did you start building in Sutton Valley? Roughly.
About 2.5 years ago, something like
Okay.
that, 2.5, 3 years.
Alright, so you built a couple before, like, and completed and sold and,
Yeah, but it's all very recent. I'm a very new builder in Southern Valley,
okay,
very,
okay,
yes.
thank you, Jay.
Yeah, it's not my first rodeo, but I'm
Mhm.
very much the new guy in Southern Valley for sure.
Mhm. Alan, you did get a chance to rebut at this point?
I think nothing really more to add, other than I think we've set the stage for a positive path forward with Jay and Sovereign Homes. So, I can't advise you about this, I think the violation fines are just, it's an expensive lesson to learn.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Can we return to the area and come back? Jay, we talked about it, and, you know, if we based it on the fact that we think you're a nice guy, we would just go, here's your money back, however. You know, 88 days, we get, you know, in the middle of, building season, you might go, oh shoot, you know, I forgot, but you started in August. And then was September, October, November, you knew you didn't start in November, so you knew you were past, if you had have just. Applied for your first extension, a lot of this money would be in your pocket.
Yeah.
And that's the reality, and as much as we feel bad, because, you know. we can see that, you know, we could be in some situation where we would like to get our money back for something. We looked at the rules, we talked about it, and unfortunately, for you.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to stick with fines that you've been given. You know, as Linda said, other builders are working within that timeline, they're getting that back. And we do hope that going forward, we have a really great relationship with Sovereign Homes. That you know, keep building here and make lots of money and build some beautiful homes in Sun Valley.
That's all I can ask for. I just thank you guys for hearing me out on it. I hope it was valuable. It was for me, getting the perspective from you guys was valuable. So, and I hope, you know, you guys getting to hear a little bit of the perspective of what the water cooler sounds like out there. It was valuable for you.
Yeah, there's
For what it's worth.
slightly different water cooler talk and the office at Sun Valley, you know, but that's okay. We appreciate it, we understand how you feel. We know you're disappointed, but thank you very much for coming out.
You got it. I think Alan said it best. It's an expensive lesson.
It is.
So there you go.
You know, I'm glad to hear that this home that comes up on March 7th is already sold and.
Yeah, congratulations on everything.
Well, me too. This has been, we inherited this project.
Oh,
From a previous builder who it languished for a variety of reasons. Some is, some other, you know,
Extenuating circumstances.
100%, yeah, so I am, believe me, I am the most happy to see this one gone.
You know,
That's great to hear that something that's been sitting around for a while and finished is now finished and moving and has a family that will enjoy it, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
yeah, how cool is it for some new neighbors to come in?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you for what you do,
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, yeah, well, you're very welcome. Thanks.
Okay, take
Awesome,
care.
guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thanks,
much.
Jay.
Great. You
Nice
guys have a
seeing you
great
again.
evening.
Take care, Jay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
You can have it.
I'll keep on, I've got all sorts of information on this guy.
By the way, great article.
In fact,
Great
this
article.
copy he gave you.
I mean, anything else for the recording?
Oh, no,
we don't.
sorry,
Okay,
we
Oh,
are
adjourned.
adjourned at 6:41.
thank you, thanks everybody.